This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's May 8th, 2026. Yesterday was a historic day in Tennessee politics, and we're going to talk quite a bit about the redistricting in the newscast portion of today's episode. Yesterday was also the anniversary of the day in 1880 when Nashville's Fisk University formed what was then called the Mozart Society. The organization lives on now as the Fisk University Choir. For its first 11 years, the group primarily performed music of European masters, including oratorios by Mozart, Haydn, and Handel. If Fisk's Jubilee singers were proving to the world at that time that the spiritual songs born out of the Black community were high art and worth listening to, the university's Mozart Society proved what then-student W.E.B. Du Bois once wrote after enjoying one of the choir's performances of Mendelssohn's Elijah. He said, quote, "Our race, just a quarter century removed from slavery, can master the greatest musical compositions." I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Fisk, like other schools in that first wave of historically Black colleges and universities, has been through a number of different phases over the years. It was established right after the Civil War with a white faculty and administration. And the whiteness of the leadership definitely showed at times. I doubt they had even a second thought about naming the choir at an all-Black institution for a dead white guy like Mozart. But as more and more Black folks earned advanced degrees and took over the job of teaching classes at Fisk and eventually running the university altogether, things shifted. As the civil rights movement bubbled up through student activism, attitudes further evolved. By the 1970s, roughly a century after its founding, Fisk had become a very different kind of place from the small school that named its choir the Mozart Society. And in 1973, a very different kind of audio organization launched out of the university. Today, it's known as WFSK or Jazzy 88. But when the Fisk radio station initially began, it was called Radio Free Nashville, WRFN. This spring, the HBCU Radio Preservation Project finished digitizing nearly 400 hours worth of material from the station's past. The group also collected several oral histories from people involved in Fisk's station, including the original faculty sponsor, Dr. Lucius Outlaw. In his telling, Outlaw recalled Fisk as having become a place where students and faculty regularly engaged with challenging, radical, and even revolutionary ideas. He says there was a great deal of interest in anti-colonial movements in Africa and a willingness by professors to assign readings from books many Americans disapproved of, like the writings of Karl Marx. He says the radio station took that mindset out into the larger community with a kind of attitude and swagger that fit the blending of intellectual discussion and musical culture. The station aired discussions with activists and thought leaders, along with music that commercial radio stations considered too political to air. And the station fed back into the rest of the university, too. Outlaw says Fisk obtained grant money for the station that he used in part to pay the speaker fees of high-profile visitors like Jesse Jackson and Shirley Chisholm. From the start, Outlaw and another faculty member also used the station to share music from their extensive collection of jazz albums, including esoteric free jazz that didn't have another home on local radio. And over time, that became the station's primary focus. In 2012, its name was changed to Jazzy 88. The digitized materials have been returned to the Fisk University Library. They're now archived and available to researchers. In just a few minutes, a Nashville native who was contemporary Christian music's first major star is back with a new album. That's coming up after the newscast.
Tennessee lawmakers are back at the Capitol this week to consider new congressional maps to eliminate the state's lone Democratic seat in Congress. I'm Mariana Bacallao, and you can find live updates on this special session online at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Heeding a call from President Trump to give Republicans more seats in Congress, Tennessee's GOP-led State House voted yesterday to carve Memphis into 3 reliably red districts. WPLN's Mariana Bacallao reports the vote was met with widespread protests.
Democrats in both chambers staged walkouts as the measure passed. 3 protesters from Memphis were arrested for refusing to clear the gallery, including the brother of Memphis Representative Justin J. Pearson, who had been running for Congress in Memphis's former 9th Congressional District.
These maps are racist tools of white supremacy at the behest of the most powerful white supremacist in the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Pearson, along with other black lawmakers in the House, pointed to the historical obstacles black voters have faced. Republicans, like Jason Zachary of Knox County, say the maps reflect Tennessee's conservative bent.
This map was drafted based on politics, based on population, and the opportunity for the first time in history for us to send an entire Republican delegation from Tennessee to represent the state in Washington, D.C.
To pass the new maps, the legislature first had to strike down a 50-year-old law that barred mid-decade redistricting. Because the new map was created so close to the primaries, there is a chance that people in the military or who live overseas may not receive their ballots in time to vote. Mariana Bacallao, WPLN News.
The final vote followed protests, arrests, and Democratic walkouts, leading to tension in the Senate.
The rules required. In your seat to vote. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 25, nays 5.
House Bill 7003, having received a constitutional majority, I declare it passed.
In coordination with the newly drawn districts, Republicans reopened the candidate qualifying window until May 15th, allowing new hopefuls to join races and existing candidates to change districts or drop out. They also rewrote state law to allow this kind of mid-decade redistricting, and they ended a requirement to notify voters by mail when their district boundaries change. Early voting in the party primaries begins on July 17th, and Election Day is August 6th. The legislative action prompted an almost immediate legal challenge from the NAACP of Tennessee. In a filing in Davidson County, the group argues the governor's call for the special session did not specifically empower lawmakers to act in the ways that they did. The new voting maps will give Republicans an advantage to win the one seat in the state that's currently held by a Democrat. Other southern states like Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina are also rushing to redistrict their maps after the Supreme Court ruling. The identities of people applying for top government jobs in cities and counties across Tennessee could soon become private. Right now, job searches for city managers, department heads, and school superintendents are public, providing transparency and the opportunity for public feedback. But a new law passed by the legislature allows candidates to request confidentiality. The Knoxville News-Sentinel reports proponents say the idea will allow more top-quality candidates to apply without fearing retribution from their current employers. But critics like Deborah Fisher of the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government says the hiring process for influential public employees should be fair and open, not, in her words, shrouded in secrecy. The bill does make an exception for police chiefs whose hiring process must remain public. People in Appalachia die from diseases of despair at a rate 37% higher than the rest of the country. That's according to a joint report from East Tennessee State University and the University of Chicago. The Tennessee Lookout reports the category includes drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, and suicide. The report finds the mortality rate overall and from these diseases of despair declined between a pandemic-era peak in 2021 and 2023. And researchers say the death rate is falling faster in Appalachia, indicating a stronger rebound than the rest of the country. Still, the study notes, the Appalachian region suffers from greater disparities compared to the rest of the country. 14% of Appalachians live below the poverty line. And even within Appalachia, which stretches from parts of New York to Mississippi, the central region, which includes sections of Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, has the lowest income and higher education attainment. Well, as welcome as this week's rain was, all of Tennessee is still in a drought. In Nashville, the rain deficit is so bad that it would take 11 inches of precipitation to catch up. WSMV reports that's about 2 average months' worth of rainfall. The last time the U.S. Drought Monitor showed conditions this dry was in December of 2016. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Amy Grant is the undisputed queen of contemporary Christian music. Early in her career, she was celebrated for devotional songs. Almost half a century later, she's steering her new music towards social consciousness. Music and culture reporter Justin Barney says that's the result of a continually evolving perspective.
In 1975, a friend of Amy Grant's got a hold of a record executive in Waco, Texas, who was interested in signing artists for a budding new genre of music called CCM, or Contemporary Christian Music. They held a tape player up to the phone and hit play.
His words were, well, she's not that good, but she sounds sincere. So I signed a contract a couple of weeks before my 16th birthday.
That's Amy Grant. Her first #1 song on the CCM chart was a praise song called Sing Your Praise to the Lord.
Sing your praise to the Lord.
That song appeared on 1982's album Age to Age, the first CCM album to go platinum. She became a figure in pop culture right next to Madonna and Prince, but she was held to a different standard. Says Leah Payne, author of God Gave Rock and Roll to You, A History of Contemporary Christian Music.
To serve the contemporary Christian music market, it's very important for any artist to conform to conservative white evangelical ideals.
Amy Grant didn't always do that, leading her to navigate controversy throughout her career. There was the 3-button controversy, where she wore a shirt with 3 buttons undone in a press photo. One time in a Rolling Stone interview, she said that she enjoyed having sex with her husband and sunbathing topless. Another scandal. And more recently, she held a same-sex marriage ceremony in her farm here in Nashville.
Not aligning with very traditional ideals about marriage, family, sex, sexuality, politics usually comes with punishment from the marketplace.
The biggest punishment came after her divorce. In 1999, she divorced her husband, Gary Chapman, and then remarried country legend Vince Gill. After that, a lot of her albums were banned from Christian bookstores, and some parents told their kids to stop listening to her because she was an example of a fallen woman. But even after that, she continued on making chart-topping albums.
You love me even with your scars.
But she hasn't released an album in over 10 years. Her last album, How Mercy Looks From Here, came out in 2013 during the Obama administration. A lot has changed since then, even Amy Grant.
Life changes all of us.
In the past 10 years, Grant has faced all sorts of challenges. She endured a horrific bike accident that left her with permanent damage and other health issues. In her new album, The Me That Remains, she deliberately stays out of controversy. At least, she tries to. In the past 10 years, the world has gotten more politically divided, and Grant is finding her space within that. The first track on the album is called The 6th of January, Yasgur's Farm.
On the 6th of January.
By songwriter Sandra Emery Lawrence. Grant embraced it as a message for hope in a time of unrest, because it asks for understanding.
We all see life through a different lens, and we have to maintain respect, saying, hey, what does it look like from there? Because I'm here. From your vantage point, tell me what this looks like.
Grant is interested in asking questions, not taking a political side. But she must have a political lens. And so I asked her point blank, what are your political beliefs?
I discuss all these things with the people next to me, but I don't discuss things like that publicly because the platform I have, I think, is to bring people together.
The song that follows January the 6th is a song called How Do We Get There From Here?
How do we take the next step?
The words that keep coming to me are do unto others as you would have them do to you. The golden rule.
The message might not seem controversial, but appeals to compassion and civility are a departure from the praise music of Grant's past. And that has its own market consequences. David Macias, the head of her new label 30 Tigers, says that he signed Grant because of the album's message, but he says that he's also aware of the marketing challenges. On streaming services, the algorithms reward Christian stars for making the type of music that aligns with the popular white evangelical market. In CCM, that is praise and worship music.
Praise music started working really well, and then a lot of the artists who were doing some things other than praise music started thinking like, well, I've got to start doing praise music to be able to get on the radio and to make it work. So that is the dominant data set. And so, if you're trying to engender some other conversations, it can prove challenging.
But Grant is at a point in her career where she can afford to encourage tough conversations.
Her legacy is secure as a CCM icon. And so I don't think it's surprising that we've seen her over the last few years
continue to have a mind of her own.
And I'm gonna find
Justin Barney, Nashville Public Radio.
and revive the me that remains.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener-supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up next week.